Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX and I'm Megha Sharma. The death of the 34-year-old techie by the name of Atul Subhash has taken the social media platforms on a tizzy. Now there have been a number of these hashtags that are going viral. Me Too to Men Too war that continues. We are going to discuss this in greater detail. What are going to be the repercussions of this case that has come to fore and caused such ripples across the country within the law and order agencies, questioning their reliability, questioning the ethics of the judiciary of our country as well. Let's start our conversation. Joining me on the telecast is Amish Agarwala. He is the AOR of the Supreme Court. Amish, thanks for joining me. And what are your views, particularly with regards to the case that has unfolded? In some gruesome details, this man has recounted his sorrow saga in the accusations that he has made, that the judiciary was to be left accountable for the bribes that they were asking of him, the wife, the mother-in-law, the entire family of this wife were harassing him, extorting money from him, blackmailing him, troubling his family as well, not even allowing him to see his only child. How do you view this entire situation, the way this development has played out over the couple of days?
Unfortunately, in as much as it is shocking here, it is something that I see in my practice on a daily basis. I have consulted over 3,000 husbands. I have done approximately 250, 300 cases of husbands stuck in these matrimonial disputes. And the story that Atul has gone through several years of seeing no justice, facing false allegations, paying interim maintenance, sometimes to the wife. In this case, it was not the wife, it was only for the child because the wife could not hide the fact that she is employed. But what is most shocking is the fact that this man took this extreme step and has mentioned the fact that the family court judge who was dealing with the maintenance application by the wife called both parties to the chamber, reprimanded him in front of the wife, then sent the wife off and then said, "Give me 5 lakhs and I will get the matter settled." Now, as an advocate, I understand these are the words of a dying man, and to what extent, without asking the judge what actually transpired, without going into the details, how quickly do we point fingers and we say that this is something that definitely did happen? We cannot rule out just that 0.1% chance that maybe this is an exaggeration. But I say, like all other things in this country, when an allegation is leveled, and at least a preliminary inquiry and investigation needs to take place. It needs to be seen when the man says that the judge has a reputation of demanding bribes to settle matters, to pass favorable orders. This is something that must be looked into. Apart from that, I must personally confess, this same discussion that Atul has mentioned in his suicide note, the staff saying, the judge saying, pay me this much, I'll get this done. This is something that I have witnessed myself, especially in the trial courts, and especially, I must say, in the state of Uttar Pradesh. This is something that I've seen happen so many times. To what extent can we blame Atul for taking this extreme step?
Yeah. Okay. But also the question now, there is an alleged misuse, abuse of laws that has happened as per the testimony that was shared by Atul right before he committed suicide. Now, it is now, the ball is in the court's court, because they are the ones who are now going to order the investigations and probes to take place to find out whether there was actually abuse of laws that was taking place from the side of the wife's family.
Let me tell you what is going to transpire, because this is not the first time I have seen a very similar thing transpire. They registered an FIR against the wife and her relatives because the police needed to show that we are doing something. They have registered the FIR. They will not be arresting the wife. They will not be arresting the family members because they are going to say a wife availing of her legal remedies cannot tantamount to instigating the person to take his own life. So this does not tantamount to abetment of suicide. But to that, I say two things. One is when you file false cases against a person, at what point of time will you be put to justice? The answer, the Supreme Court very conveniently says, and I completely disagree with it, is that after the false case against you is over, you then move an application for malicious prosecution against the opponent complainant. And even then, the court will not just say false allegations, let's prosecute this person who testified falsely or instituted malicious proceedings. The court says it must be blatantly false, it must be in public interest to do this. And so, majority of the times in the cases where we have tried to prosecute the wife, the girlfriend, ladies who have leveled false allegations in multiple situations, we filed what is called an application under Section 340 Criminal Procedure Code for perjury, for malicious prosecution. The courts have rejected these claims every single time. It's a woman. There is no denying the fact that yes, women in the past, there were difficulties, the law came about, but this blatant misuse and allowing false complainants to get away with it is something that should not,
Okay.
they should not be allowed to get away with it.
So then, Amish,
right?
how do we resolve this problem now? On one hand, we see harassment, rape, murder, burning of brides happening incessantly across the country. So when it comes to taking affirmative action towards the safety of women in our country, for their betterment, for their security and safety, there are laws that have been amended. Progress has been made. Now, everybody will obviously cite the very gruesome Nirbhaya murder and gang rape that took place. It shudders one's imagination when you even think of what happened to that girl. And there have been several of these cases, gang rapes, murders of women that have taken place. In fact, a position that I myself will be able to testify is I have to look over my shoulders every single time I'm stepping out. I need to be extra careful of the way I'm dressing, where I'm dressing, in which area of the city that I'm traveling to I'm dressing in, and what time of hour am I stepping out from my houses. Because there have been instances, not just the law and order agencies, not just the judiciary, there have been politicians that the girl was asking for it. If she, God forbid, she steps out for a party and drinks or even smokes and she's clicked like that, and then she's seen on the side of the street mutilated, murdered, raped, it's as if the girl's fault.
Right. May I propose a solution?
Yes.
I say that obviously women's rights, women's safeties, and the autonomy of a woman, there are several concerns. But that does not mean that in the garb of women's safety, we throw out any semblance of sanity. What I propose as a practical step is this. There are, crimes which are, there are, actions which are designated. If you do this action, you'll be punished, right? You'll go to jail. One aspect is, why do we need to immediately arrest the person, keep them behind bars and oppose their bail? What about the notion, what about the concept of innocent until proven guilty? That's one. And obviously, I'm not saying point blank, never arrest anybody, but I'm saying it's one thing to say that the allegation is severe, because it's very easier to put severe allegations. My husband attempted to murder me. This is what Atul's wife said against him. My husband committed unnatural sex upon me. That's what Atul's wife said about the husband. Did she go for a medical legal checkup? I can guarantee you she did not, because that's what I see happening all the time. The solution that I propose is that we take a little bit of a balanced approach, and let's not throw common sense out of the window because our emotions dictate our actions. We cannot let that happen. What I say is this.
Right.
If there is concrete proof, number one, or even if I say there is no concrete proof, but at the very least, the investigating authority should say that we have a reason to believe, very cogent reasons, rational reasons to believe that either there will be attempts at tampering with evidence, or attempts at influencing witnesses, then yes, you take the person into custody. But apart from that, not just offenses against women, this whole culture of the British era, file an allegation, let's get this person arrested. Not just women, this is economic crimes, this is physical assault, this is almost everything under the sun. 90% of these cases, they are non-bailable. The person merely faces an allegation and then goes to jail. I've seen thousands upon thousands. This has to stop. And another aspect is when the accused person himself has proof to show the police and the judges showing his innocence. Look at concrete proof, look at chats, look at videos, look at emails. The courts and the police toss it out in a moment. And the only thing they say is, oh, because the lawmakers, the Criminal Procedure Code never envisaged a mechanism by which the accused person can also show his proof. If the accused person is allowed to show his proof, I'm not saying you let him go free, but at least if he shows something that, maybe hints at the fact that he's innocent, or maybe in some occasions concretely shows that he's innocent.
Yeah, but then,
why do you still continue with the case against
Amish,
him?
I'm going to, ask you because, taking a look at the flip side of the argument, and there have been a number of hundreds and hundreds of such incidents where women who have been aggrieved, they have been beaten, they have been I don't know, facing domestic abuse, sexual harassment, and maybe raped, and they go to the police station, and the police and the inspector over there is first asking, where is the proof that you've been raped? And therefore there had been this amendment made in the rule in the law that a complaint can be filed, an FIR can be registered by the complaint that has been filed by the aggrieved woman, especially in a case such as domestic abuse or rapes. So there are two sides to the story, and this has to be navigated very, very sensitively, because here you see a man who has died. The fact that he had to kill himself, he had to commit suicide, for the law and order agencies to look up and take notice. Even forcibly slow, if they had to file, they were even if they perhaps were reluctant to file an FIR, they still have to now file an FIR.
My question is, what happens after this FIR is registered? The police will not arrest. The police will in all probability file a closure report against the wife and her family members, just because, oh, it doesn't look nice when we arrest a woman and we put her in jail. This is the mindset that I say we need to get out of. And in terms of, not taking a lot of your time, two proposed solutions, I say, can bring a lot of, needed change in this system. One is, of course, you mentioned that the girl should not be asked, where is your proof? But I say, at the very least, if the boy is producing some proof of his own, can you say, no, we will not look at your proof because we must believe all women. And because women have been suffering since the ages, today, whatever the woman says, we must believe the woman and we must prosecute the person that she points fingers at. That is absurd.
Okay.
Second thing I say is that if, again, this is a nuanced point, but if it is very clearly, you can see that a completely false allegation has been leveled in, say, sexual assault, sexual harassment, in as much as it is important to have strong laws preventing these actions, you must also, to preserve the sanctity of the justice system and preserve the sanctity of the victim, of a genuine victim's grievances. When you find out that there is a false allegation, you should not be imposing a fine of rupees 5,000 or 10,000 on a false accuser. And you should actually haul off the accuser themselves to at least a little bit of jail time. Wouldn't you agree?
Okay. All right, fair enough. Let me also get Mrunalini Deshmukh. She's a senior matrimonial lawyer on the telecast with me. Mrunalini, talking about gender neutral laws that have been demanded whereby various sections of the society, and this comes to fore, this becomes highlighted after this unfortunate incident that has taken place. My only question is, women have struggled and step by step there have been affirmative actions that have been taken and executed. Laws have been amended to an extent where at least there is some sort of redressal that can be provided to the woman who is aggrieved, who has faced harassment at the hands of a man. Do you think a case such as this and the demand being made by certain sections that there should be gender neutral laws could dilute the efforts that have already been made in empowerment of women in our country?
So at the outset, I would really like to say that the point that we are discussing here is what happens in a typical matrimonial litigation. So these are matrimonial litigations, which are family litigation, which is also a drain on the emotions and their finances and their time, and the futility at the end of it what. Now, having said this, what is really required is, yes, historically it has been a great effort for women to be empowered by different laws, by say the Domestic Violence Act, by amendments to the IPC, and bringing other such things, which is there only to make equality between man and woman a gender equal law in that sense of the word, because the women have always been always at the receiving end in the past. But what has happened is, obviously the legislature cannot separate that, but what has happened is that there is a certain section of the women, and in my experience as a matrimonial lawyer over 2 decades, it is the haves and not the have-nots who are misusing and abusing the law. The more you are getting, if you are getting 100 rupees, you want 500. If you are getting 500, you want 10. So there is no semblance of alimony. There is no semblance of maintenance which is there. It is only legal extortion that they are resorting to. And what they are using, is that, like my learned friend Anish just said, that they are using leverages like he was going to kill me, he raped me, marital rape, then he had unnatural sex with me. And there are so many of the lawyers, and I think Anish, you would agree with me, that there are some of the lawyers who also suggest that why don't you put these clauses of unnatural sex, otherwise he will not be arrested, and he will, if you don't want him to get bail, then you must put this clause. Sometimes we lawyers also misguide.
I agree with you, because I've had second hand accounts. I've heard these stories from friends and acquaintances.
So my view is that we as lawyers are officers of the court. We also have to uphold the intent of the legislature for what it was made, and really come to the rescue of a woman who's really in need of it. But we as lawyers should also have the spine to say no to a client who is trying to abuse the law, because this is what is setting the trend. And I think the buck to a large extent stops at us. It's okay. They may say, I don't like Brinalini as a lawyer because she's giving me a very, very sage advice, and I want to go to somebody very aggressive and try and just nail him down. You may lose a brief, but you will never lose your conscience, and you will be really a lawyer who will be upholding what the laws are and what they are meant for being. But saying this, the fact of the matter, and Anish is absolutely right, he deals probably more at the Supreme Court level. I deal more at the High Court and the Family Court level, and some at the Supreme Court level. It is so pathetic to see how the women are abusing the law. It is so pathetic to see some of the judges blindly, without application of judicial mind, passing maintenance orders, not considering the facts before the case, not verifying from the woman why does she need an X amount, and what are the bills and what are the invoices in support of that, just on a statement grant. You know why? Because, and I'm sorry to say with utmost respect, they want to earn brownie points. They want to earn brownie points for their betterment. So if you give an order in favor of a woman, you get a brownie point. And that's why they do it. And I see this every day. And it is so painful. I see this in child custody cases. Why are you making fathers beggars and saying you'll have 1 hour and 2 hours? Why? As much as you will chase him and say you must pay this amount of maintenance, I will put you behind bars if you are in violation. Why is a woman who does not uphold the law or the order not put behind bar if she does not give visitation rights to her father? Why is there such discrimination? As much as the woman...
Okay, in the current scheme of things, what is the legal recourse a man can take if he's faced with the kind of harassment and mental stress and extortion that we saw in Atul's case?
I think the first thing that he should do in my situation is to write to the principal judge or the chief judge of that particular court, bringing to the notice of the court, because today I'll tell you something, documents speak louder than any other thing. So if there is a document,
I just have to request you, could you please put on your lights in your car,
Unfortunately,
because it's just not visible on the camera any longer, and of course you need to come on air. Yes,
I do. I'm trying. I'm in the car, but I'll try that. But
Okay.
what I'm trying to say, I think what I'm saying is more important. And what I'm trying to say at this point of time is that you need to make a complaint to the chief judge or to the principal judge or whoever is there, putting on record what your grievances and complaints are. If you don't do that, then then they have to take action. We have court managers, a copy of that should be given to the court manager, and the email should go even to the concerned judge. It is not disrespecting the judiciary, it is not contempt of court, it is redressal of your grievances as a litigant in a court of law, where you are suffering at the hands of the system and at the hands of the whole mechanism which is there. I think that should be the first thing that we have to do, and maybe something like a PIL could be filed where these issues could be discussed with the highest judiciary, where they will take a note and they will pass certain guidelines or certain things have to do, because
Okay.
unless
I'll come back to you, and let's also try to fix that lighting issue over there. Amish, coming back to you, in a situation as Advocate Muralini said, there can be certain changes, amendments can be made in the way aggrieved men, especially in domestic abuse such as this, harassment, mental stress, extortion cases such as this can then fall back to for safeguarding their sanity, their lives, their financial stability as well. How do we move forward? Are there more amendments that are required? What are these amendments if they are required? And also, again, how do we ensure that there are not imposters who misuse this law to protect themselves, because this happens from the men's side, and this happening, a larger trend being seen that more and more women are misusing and overusing this law for their vested interests and benefits. But how do we ensure that justice is given both to the men and to the women?
So I'll just take a minute to answer this, but before that, I wanted to just add on to what Monalini madam said. She said, you should write to the principal judge, you should write to the senior judges, and you should be on the larger scale, you should be going for a PIL. I completely agree. There are just two more points that I would like to add. For the individual who is facing false allegations, as a man, facing either criminal cases, maintenance cases, domestic violence cases, custody difficulties, one thing that I say as an individual, at an individual level, a husband should always be doing is something that unfortunately majority of us lawyers do not talk about, which is availing of your own legal remedies against the wife and her family members. Husbands are always told there is no case that you can file on your wife or her relatives. But I say there are, if there have been allegations, if there have been incidents of defamation, extortion, intimidation, harassment. In this case, Atul transferred huge sums of money to his wife. He could have sought recovery of those amounts. This is something that no lawyer, unfortunately, advises. But when I have done these things for husband clients, we've had significant results. One aspect is you avail of your legal remedy, you try to get justice in your own case. But the other aspect is that when the wife sees that she will also be held accountable for her actions, rather than, I'll tell you this. What happens when a wife goes to a lawyer and says, I want a divorce, I want alimony? The lawyer says, as Muralini madam said, we'll file these allegations. And then the lady always asks the lawyer, what are the repercussions that I will face if it is found out that these allegations are false? And the lawyer has to sometimes happily, sometimes sadly inform the wife that even if her allegations are found out to be completely false, with concrete proof by the husband that these allegations are false, she suffers no consequence.
Okay.
No wife, in my documented experience, having, discussed with thousands of husbands, read multiple thousands of cases, not a single wife has been sentenced to jail for filing false allegations, despite the court saying, yes, we can see with 100% certainty that this lady has lied on oath and has instituted multiple
Okay, but for
cases
but
maliciously
every
against
single
man.
woman who has misused this law and has gotten away with it by fighting it in the court of law and taking undue advantage of the laws which are in favor of the women, there are thousand others who do not even get to see the court to get justice for the actual crimes that have been committed to them. Forget about reaching the court of justice. They are not even entertained by your police station, by your DCPs, by your inspectors, police inspectors that are installed in at those police stations. Mrunalini, all hope is not lost, because today the Supreme Court, while hearing another separate case, this was regarding another dowry case where the judge, the Supreme Court observed that there is an increasing trend of women misusing the laws for their advantage. Similarly, there have been cases in the past where the courts have ruled that there have been several times that women come to court, make an appeal, say accusing the men of rape when they are living in a living situation with a man, and accusing the man of luring them with the promise of marriage and therefore claiming it to be a rape, and such kind of cases have been thrown away into the dustbin by the courts in the previous times as well.
Which is see, I'm so glad that the highest judiciary is aware of what is happening at the ground level, which is I'm at the trial courts or at these the police stations and criminal complaints that are being filed. So a judicial note of the highest court to that effect, I'm sure, will bring about a lot of sensitivity amongst the judicial officers who are deciding these cases. There will be more, I hope, and I'm an eternal optimist, that there will be more application of the judicial mind. There will be more balanced view of things there. In matrimonial matters, I have also seen in a number of cases that the husbands are looked upon as accused. Even in matrimonial courts, in family courts, they are not accused. They are one of the litigant. He is the husband or he is a father, or so that mindset has to be changed. The courts will have to look at him as one of the litigant who's come for the redressal of his grievances, and he needs to be heard. He needs to be attended to, and the matter needs to be adjudicated on a fair basis, and not on what is the raving and ranting done by a lady's lawyer, a lady litigant's lawyer, and saying that he's a monster and he's doing this. And one more thing, I think Anish will agree with me, a lot of women and some of these women are filing false POXO cases against their husbands, alleging that they have inappropriately touched the child and things like that. And why do they do that? Only because that's one of the harshest things that they can come. They want the husband to come around, come on his knees, pay her the amount which is there, and then they will by consent get the case quashed in the high court.
Absolutely. I mean, there are instances, and obviously
I have dealt with these matters, and they have taken crores of rupees, and the husband, a very, very respectable person, does not want to lose his reputation and job, which is in an MNC, because of such cases or which are framed against him. So I think we need overhauling. We need overhauling of the laws.
Yes, absolutely.
And one last thing, we need sensitization of the judges. We need orientation for the lawyers who are going to be in the family matter and matrimonial matter. Unless both these things are done at the same time, I don't see any change happening in the near future.
Okay. All right. At least there is some sort of a movement that has happened, a momentum perhaps that will be gained after this event, unfortunate incident that has happened, hopefully in the right direction, in favor of the aggrieved men who actually bear the brunt of women who are just trying to get a better deal of the bargain, to end up harassing the man in question, making all sorts of false allegations and just getting away with it simply because they are women. I have had a very good, insightful discussion with both of you. So thank you, Amish Agarwala, and thank you, Mrunalini Deshmukh, for joining me on the telecast and sharing your views. On that note, I slip into a short break. Thanks for watching NewsX. On the other side, we'll take a look at all the latest developments that are taking place in this case, because there are these updates coming in minute by minute, which we will be tracking for you on the other side of this break.